So let's look at functions and grouping in SQL. Now there are a whole bunch of different functions built into the SQL standard, and normally they can be categorized into sort of string functions, manipulating the strings, working out how long they are, finding substrings, parts of a string. Some of them are to do with maths, like finding max, min, average, things like that. There are date functions, and actually the aggregate or group functions are down the bottom here. Things like average, sum, count, stuff like that. Now, you need to watch out for most SQL standards use certain functions, but for example, Microsoft Access tends to use the same functions as you see in Excel. Microsoft tended to sort of subvert the standard slightly. So you just need to be aware that sometimes there's a little bit of difference in the function name. I mean, it's very easy to find this stuff out just by using a quick search. But sometimes if you use a function and it's not quite right, just bear in mind there can be a difference in function names depending upon the SQL standard, which of course most databases support, and some of the smaller packages like MS Access, things like that. So let's look at a few examples, and I'm probably going to use the Access examples here, I think. So let's do string concatenation. We've seen this before, and to do string concatenation, what you do is you combine columns together. So here, for example, let's say that we wanted to combine ename with sal. We're going to put some words in the middle. We could do it like this: select. Now, employee is a string, that's a literal. So I'm actually directly putting those words there, and then I put an ampersand symbol, and then ename, and then an ampersand symbol, and then another string. And you can see the other string that we're attaching on the end says earns £, and then that's a string, and then we close it off with the double quote, and then on the end we put ampersand sal, and you can see what that looks like over there. Now that's MS Access, and of course that ampersand for concatenation, combining, is the same as in Excel. If you were doing this in something which supports the SQL standard, then you need to use the concat function. And so you go concat, and then you have open brackets, and what you do is you have a long list of things and separated by commas, and what it does is it just combines all those things together, and you can have as many as you like. So it looks like that. So we'd end up with something that looks like that. Okay, let's say that you wanted to get the middle of a string. Well, if you want to use a mid function, then what you do is mid needs three things to do its work, three attributes. It's going to have the particular column, the string, the attribute that we're actually working on, and then a starting point, and then a number of characters from that point. So for example here, let's say that we wanted to return sort of the middle of ename. So what we're going to do is we're going to take ename, and from the second character in, we're going to return 4 characters. So if we run this, it would look like that. So you can see from the second character in, we're returning 4 characters. And of course, if there aren't 4 characters, it just returns what characters there are. So for example, if you have a look at Reese, there's obviously only EES. There's only 3 characters that can be returned, but that's fine. It just does that. Let's have a look at some maths functions then. So min, for example, that returns the smallest value in a column. That's very straightforward. We simply go select min, and then the particular column that we're operating over. So for example here, what's the minimum salary? We just go select min sal from emp, and it would do that. The maximum salary, very similar to min. We just use a different function name, run it over a column with numerical values, and it returns the maximum value. Or average, which looks like this. So we go select average sal from emp, and that would return the average salary, which is very nice. Sum adds them all up, so it does that. Or we could count the number of records there are in a result set. So often we would use this with a where clause. Here, without a where, you can see what happens is it just returns the number of columns we have. So there are 14 columns in the default emp table when we're counting the number of salaries there are. Now, often what we'll do is we will use those functions when we're sort of clumping data together, when we're combining data into groups. And then the way that we do that is to use the group by syntax. Now I think this is probably best explained with an example. Let's say that you wanted to actually work out what the average salary was for each particular job. So just think about that for a moment. What the salary is, the average salary is for each particular job. So we want the average salary for admin, we want the average salary for analysts, we want the average salary for managers, for the president, etc. Now the way that we can do that is we use this special syntax group by, and you can see it on the third line of the SQL here. And what group by does is it just clumps all of those jobs together into whatever categories that there are. So whatever column we operated on, it will combine all of those types of things together. So really, when we do group by, we're looking for a column which has a very limited set of values. And obviously the job column, if you think about it, it's just got admin, analyst, manager, president and sales. So this is how we do it. We go select from group by job, clump all the results together by job. Now if you have a look at the top line, you can see where we're actually going to use a function over those values. And in particular, you can see we're going to use average sal. And what that will do is that will calculate the average salary for each of the jobs. Now, if we don't show job on the front line, that's not very helpful because it will calculate the average salary for all the jobs grouped together, but we won't know which one is which. So often you'll find that the thing that you group by, you also include on the top line. And you can see that here. We've got job on the bottom and we've got job on the top, like that. So if we run that, this is what we'd actually get. So let's just go through that again. You can see what's actually happening here is it's clumping, grouping all the things with the same category together. So it's put all the admin people together, all the analysts together, all the managers together, the president and the sales together. And then it's calculating the average salary over those groupings. So that very neatly and elegantly gives us those 5 results. What are the average salaries for those different categories of jobs? Let's have a look at another one then. For example, how would we calculate the highest salary for each job category? So let's go through it slowly. We're going to clump all the records together by job. That's where group by job comes in. And then we're going to run a function over those collapsed groups. And the function that we're going to use here, we want the highest salary, so it's going to be max, isn't it? We're going to go max sal. And remember what I said earlier on, almost always you will have whatever you group by on the top line as well. So group by job, and then we have job on the top line, so that when we run that, we can actually see what are the maximum salaries for each of the different categories, just like that.